All right, we have come to the determination as a show. Now, we're going to not waste anybody's time. We're not going to waste yours, nor are we going to waste ours, lamenting these lifeless losses the next day.
What, 3 hits?
Yeah.
You get excited?
3 measly hits off an average pitcher, another questionable move by Buck. That's no longer the story of a season that is beginning to take on the shape of one of the emptiest, most embarrassing, really most pathetic baseball seasons we've seen around here in a long time. That's with the Mets. So to get, you can't do it. We're not doing that. Well, I mean, you and I are only together a couple weeks, and I don't think you and Evan will do it. I don't know if Sal and I will do it either. Like, there comes a point where it's got to be a bigger story.
Well, you can't have the same conversation over and over and over and over and over and over and over again about the same stuff over and over and over and over and over and over and over again.
That's the point. So the new conversation, and it's hit me the last couple of days. I've seen it. I haven't really said it yet. I've sat on it a little bit. I'm starting to see the early signs of a Steve Cohen issue, or maybe a Steve Cohen disconnect between the Met fans and their owner. When Steve Cohen bought the team, there were 2 things that galvanized Met fans, who needed that galvanization as much as any fan base in sports. Outside of maybe the Jets, and we'll get to them in a bit with Hard Knocks.
Hey, they're good.
Number 1, he's bringing the biggest checkbook in sports to the table, number 1. And number 2, he feels what you feel. As a rabid, fervent fan, like a legitimate fan, all right, of the New York Mets, when you hurt, he's going to hurt. When you react viscerally, on some level, you expect him not to be George Steinbrenner. I'm not talking about that, but to have some sort of visceral response to something that needs to be responded to. And I got to tell you, the longer Steve Cohen goes without saying anything, or more specifically, doing anything about this disaster of a 2023 baseball circus that the Mets are currently in the middle of, the less belief, I believe, honestly, the less conviction in their owner the Mets have, the Met fans have.
I think Steve Cohen is in a very interesting space. He's been the owner here for 3 years, right, going on 4 years. He doesn't know the business of baseball like he knew the business of hedge funds or the financial services world. He doesn't know that baseball is operating in a different way than you do when you're trying to make money on arbitrage or whatever the heck it is, right? But when he learned that on the business side, the financial services side, he was ruthless. That's the MO of Steve Cohen, and he was ruthless. He wasn't taking, well, I don't know, for an answer. Mm-hmm. And at some point, and I think it's going to happen soon, Steve Cohen is going to look at the business of baseball, of his baseball team, and he's going to start to get ruthless. And he has to, because it's gotten to the point where the New York Mets are trending towards irrelevancy. We are not even in July yet.
Yep.
And it almost feels like they're an afterthought, and that's bad for business. Bad for our business.
Yeah.
We're not talking about the Mets in August. What in the heck are we doing here? Because there's so many games. I mean, they're already 8 out. If they're 20 games out of whatever at some point of the division, you're not talking about the Mets. You're talking about next year.
They
for
can
the
lose
Mets.
100 games. Now, they won't, 100%. But that is not off the table.
You're right. So
that's how bad they are right now.
I truly believe that Steve Cohen is going to get back to the Steve Cohen that made his financial services businesses successful. He has to, because sitting back and letting Billy Epler or Buck Showalter, who looks so checked out, maybe if he's not, I think he's actually paralyzed by analytics. Like, why else would you pull Justin Verlander, who was getting stronger as the game was going on, according to the broadcast last night at 100 pitches, and think that that's the better option than throwing Drew Smith as better option and keeping Verlander
who
in front
hasn't
of the
pitched during the didn't even go to rehab
exactly.
or a little minor league tour.
Couldn't find his pitches. He couldn't get anything breaking over the plate, so he just started throwing fastballs. Oh, Joey Wiemer can't hit that until he does.
Yep.
422 feet, the dead away center, light hitting rookie, another rookie again. At some point, Stevie Cohen has to turn into Stevie Cohen, the businessman. Forget Stevie Cohen, the Mets fan. Hey, he's going to do what we want to do. He's going to spend the money. This is a business. And as it's becoming clear that the Mets don't have it, whatever it is, he's got to start getting ruthless. Otherwise, you're right. He's going to lose the fan base. They're going to turn on him.
Yeah.
They're going to say, hey, man, I thought you were one of us.
Yeah,
and
yeah,
then they're gonna
exactly.
say, you don't know what you're doing. And that's the last thing Steve Cohen would ever have expected 3 years ago when he was the darling of Met Twitter. He's not that anymore.
He's tweeted twice in the last, I think May 14th or May 17th was the last. He's had 2 tweets in that span, one of which, the last one, was reacting. I forget which win, but he said, hey, it wasn't pretty, but we'll take it. Listen, I don't need him to be a tweeting machine. That doesn't really change. That absolutely doesn't change anything. But messaging matters in 2023. And, the connection, and that's really where it was built. Again, his passion for the Mets, the checkbook, but also the interaction with Met fans.
Yes.
And I understand that, I shouldn't say I understand. I strongly believe that he's bunkered down, plotting things out, trying to figure out what he's going to do. He's not enjoying this. It's probably ripping his guts apart. I get it. It's not fun. And the man is incredibly successful. And right now, his team is getting embarrassed. And it's killing him because he's a proud, successful person. But I still think if he deviates too far from what the Met fan thought that they were getting when he came in, I understand, like, that ruthlessness from a business point of view, excuse me, that's going to happen. But there can't be silence leading up to whatever actions are taken to fix this mess.
What did you think Stevie Cohen would be like as the owner? I think that's the question. What did you think he was going to do?
I thought he'd be a little more hands-on.
Me too.
I think everybody did.
Because that's who I feel like he is. Yeah. It's not like he owned, these companies and was just sitting back and saying, hey, good luck. I'll collect the money. Pay me my piece. It wasn't like an accounting firm where you have all the partners and everybody else does all the work. It wasn't that.
Because there's an emotional investment to 100%. Sports, unlike accounting.
100%.
Absolutely.
And so why are we not seeing that right now?
I don't know.
Why is Stevie Cohen, who is one of the most powerful men simply because of his pocketbook in Major League Baseball, silent right now? Why is that happening?
Maybe because he's legitimately confused. I mean, I want to be fair to him. Maybe he doesn't really know what to say. And maybe he's being overly aware of not saying the wrong thing. But and I understand that. But saying nothing, I think, is worse. You need the presence.
It is. Of course,
you need the presence. Let me give you an example. It's a massive stretch, but let's just say, take our buddy Jerry Ferrara, right?
Love Jerry.
Yeah, he's the best.
I saw him on the golf course yesterday with his wife, and
I saw some of the videos too.
He was great.
Yeah. But imagine, like, if, I don't know, Jerry, instead of just being on Entourage as Turtle and other shows, right? Jerry as largely, I forget, Spike Lee for some. I think a lot of people look at Jerry as maybe among the most, prominent or most popular Knicks fans out there, right?
Yes.
Okay. So imagine if Jerry came up with instead of being in it, he wrote it, sold it, he made gazillions, and he bought the Knicks, right? And we'd be like, yeah, that's our boy, Jerry. He's been in the trenches all these years. He's got all this money. He's going to finally fix us, right? And like the Knicks lose 11 of 12 or whatever it is, and they're 26 games behind the Boston Celtics, and he's not tweeting a thing. After all those years about tweeting about the Knicks and connecting with us and being one of us and all those things that brought us together, suddenly he gets the team that he loves and he's always espoused everything for, and suddenly he goes dark. It can't be this way.
No,
Again,
can't.
I don't mean irresponsibly. I don't mean cavalierly. I don't mean like George. Please don't waste my I know he's not George. That's a good thing in a lot of ways. There's a prudence and a patience that I think ultimately will pay off for the Mets. But you got to throw your fans a bone. You got to throw them a bone. You had 3 hits last night. This guy stinks. He stinks. He's the definition slightly below Major League average. You get 3 hits at home coming off the way you lost the last game and the way you've been playing. Sometimes you got to shoot something across the bow and let your people know it sucks. I'm pissed. I hear it. I got it. I'm with you still. And he hadn't said anything. And that would bother me if I'm a legitimate Mets fan. That would surprise me, and that would bother me. 877-337-6666. All right. Tiki and Tierney on the Fan. We're inside of our Town Fair Tire studio. Our friends at Town Fair. Remind you that you always get the guarantee lowest price on name brand tires from Connecticut to Maine. Nobody beats Town Fair Tire. Nobody. As Hoff makes his way into the studio. We will not bring him on the mic yet. We'll get these calls here. But Hoff has Teak, another loss. He's gonna have to make that decision as to whether or not he wants to be the source behind the resurrection of the 2023 Mets by shaving the head and doing all that. He's the guy. I bestowed the power upon him.
Yes, and if you do it, Hoff, Steve Cohen might adopt you and put you in his will.
Yes, that's right. All right, here we go. I could be off. I mean, maybe you're so consumed with Buck and all the other stuff that's not working. Maybe you don't really mind that Cohen is not connecting with you anymore, but it would bother me. All right, let's get to you here. Let's get Joe in Middletown. Joe, what's going on, buddy? How are you today?
What's up, fellas? Thanks
Joe?
for taking my call.
Okay, buddy, what's going on?
So listen, I've been following Buck Showalter's career since the early 90s. And here's one thing that I never understood, okay? I used to follow Mike Lupica back in the day. People used to slobber over this guy, calling him, he's a baseball genius. He's this, he's that. Show me statistically where. Frankly, if you take a team out of the abyss, which he did with the Baltimore Orioles, it doesn't necessarily mean that you're qualified to take a team to a World Series and win a World Series. And I never understood it, guys. Objectively, I never understood that Buck Showalter love. Clearly, I think it starts from the top. I think things do need to be shaken up because it's not working out right now.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it comes. The love comes from the details, like the little things, the
professionalism.
Yeah, well, the professionalism, but knowing how to manufacture runs, knowing how to be aware on the base paths or make the right play at the right time. And a year ago, the Mets did that every single night, it felt like. It was always something. Oh, that was clever. Oh, that was smart. Oh, man, you believe I didn't know that, right? You've said that every day. Now you're saying, dude, this team looks dumb.
It's the opposite.
This team is making routine mistakes.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Brett Beatty, I know he's only been up for a little bit, but can't get the ball out of his glove. Routine double play in the game, win a series. It's
had another one last night.
I know
that cost him about 8 or 9 pitches. By the way,
it's all of these things compounded.
Yeah, on the bases, it's been an issue all year. Nimmo dropping balls in center. The Mets they look like an expansion team.
And it's
too often.
not a guy.
I know.
It's not one guy.
I agree
if
with
that.
If
it was one guy,
yeah.
we'd be get him out
like
the
with
team.
Aaron Hicks for 2 years.
Exactly.
No, it's everybody. That's the worst thing about this.
And if it's everybody, it's got to be the Skip.
I'm with you. Listen, by no means.
And that's not fair.
Yeah.
But that's fact.
Yeah, and when I talk about Cohen to start the show, I'm not trying to circumvent the Buck stuff. I'm just giving you something fresh.
Yeah.
Because the Buck stuff I've been saying for a while. But yes, I am absolutely with you. When you play Chris baseball, remember, I think it was the Phillies. And Marte was backing up. We've referenced this a few times.
Yes.
It was early in the year.
Yes, I remember this.
Right? And they gunned down, and they even been Bryce Harper at third base. It was just a really heads-up, dialed-in play. And to me, that was an early sign, like, wow, these fundies that, you stress from the time you're 7, 8 years old and all the things that you get bored and have to do in practice, you get older, like the Mets are really invested in those, and that comes from Buck Showalter, and that was a staple their season. That was last year. This year, it looks like they didn't even practice before the season.
Yeah, you're
like
right.
they didn't even go down to Port St. Lucie.
Looked like us playing softball on Craig's Tiki and Tierney versus Carton and Roberts when nobody's backing up the throw to second base.
I know.
Hoff, I think that was you actually in short right field.
Hold on. No, as a first baseman, I always trail when a guy hits a double because I learned it from Donnie. I'm always trailing just in case somebody throws me. I'm on second base. I can slap it on the knee. Now it's going to take me 13 seconds to get there, but
you're going to walk there.
Yes. The instincts and the mind were in the right place. All right, let's get back to you. How about Jason, Waterbury, Connecticut? What's going on, Jay?
Yeah, what's up, guys? How are you today?
Good, Jason.
Hey, listen, I'm gonna tell you right now what's going on here. It's so simple to see what's going on with the Mets. It has nothing to do with Buck Showalter. Here's what it has to do with. Unfortunately, this Penn's the worst in the league. Unfortunately, the guys, these veteran players that have all, black type all over the back of their baseball cards have not performed this season at all. They've been atrocious. And I'm not even going to say it's going to go back to the Atlanta series last year. It more so goes back to, number one, hugely, Diaz getting hurt in the WBC. As you can see now, it's really reared its ugly head as the Mets can score 6 runs a night and they're not winning these games. You know what, Scherzer, he's been better. You know what, but people, I love Verlander, but last night he pitched 5 innings of shutout baseball. That's not good enough. He needed to go an extra inning. He needs 6, 7 innings.
Yeah, think about what you're saying, though. Think about that. Think about that, Jason.
Tiki,
5 innings of shutout baseball.
Tiki, when you used to fumble the football on the field, right?
Yeah.
You're talking about Brett Beatty. You're calling him out for, unfortunately, he made a blunder on Sunday and he took ownership after the game.
I give him credit for that.
Fumble the football, that's right. When you used to football, I'm a Giant fan. I've been a Giant fan for 30 years. You know what? When you used to fumble the football on the field, you had some big fumbles in your career. I can't remember if you were, if you went out after the game and said, "Hey, I messed up today. This
What do you think?
on me."
What do you think?
Well,
what do you think?
I don't know. I don't know about that.
Yeah.
I
What do you
know
think?
Brett
What do you
did it,
think I
though.
did? What do you think I did?
I know Beatty said, "Hey, listen, at the end of the game," he said, "Hey, it's on me. I made a terrible play in the 8th inning today. I got to make that play." You know what I mean? So,
Yeah. No, I hear you. I hear you.
Listen to me. As bad as this month of June's been for the Mets, I still think that at the end of September, this team's going to be a playoff team. Because guess what?
You're out of your mind, Jay.
As horrible
Not
as
good
they
enough.
played this month, they could turn it around next month because they got the players that could turn it around. And Cohen, he's got the resurces.
Do they?
He's going
Yeah.
out there. He's getting guys in this pen. He's getting guys.
All right, I think I'm listening
He's
to a
bringing
radio
on-
guy now.
Yeah.
I can't. I think
Yeah.
actually has a radio voice. Enough.
Hey, no. By the
Some
way,
decent points, but
by the way,
playoff team, no. This ain't it.
not just after big fumble days, but every day I stood up and answered the
Oh, I know
question.
you did. I know.
So, Jason, you just weren't listening to me.
Maybe we have to find one of those old YouTube clips after a rough Tiki game, and I could judge him on his
the problem was
transparency and his
the rough games were also
accountability.
some of the best games.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
One of my best games was the Eagles in the it's to get into the postseason. I had a 200 yards rushing, but I fumbled 3 times. The only reason it was close is because I kept fumbling.
That's a tough one. Yeah, that would be like
And then
hitting 3 home runs.
Yeah.
And making 6 errors.
Yeah, exactly.
You get on the bus, you're like,
you know why I love Coach Fossil? Because in overtime of that game, he gave me the ball 5 out of the 6 plays.
You and I have talked about this.
So,
He just rode you to the end because he had to. Yeah, I get
kicked
it.
the game-winning field goal, and we got to the postseason.
Problem is, I don't see a Tiki Barber on this Mets team right now. I honestly don't. Like, I don't see one of the best players in the league.
Yeah,
I don't.
And they're paid
anywhere,
and they're paid to be the best players in the league, and they're just not.
Yep. 877-337-6666. I don't know. Anybody want to hear from the owner? A little bit. The owner who loves the Mets and has all the money and promised all these grand things as he purchased the team. We're going to get Steve, you going to say anything at some point? I don't know. If I'm a Mets fan, I think I'd want to hear something. I really do. All right, get back to you, calls here. Hard Knocks. Come and call them for the Jets. You hate it. I love it. We'll get to that later as well. Tiki and Tierney on the Fan.